Thank you for tuning in to episode 264 of This Week in Real Estate, the TWAR podcast, broadcast live Wednesday, February 14th, 2024, Valentine's Day. Zillow versus Homes, the Portal Wars heat up. Man, I just botched the title. The Portal Wars heat up. This episode was brought to you by listeners and viewers just like you guys. Thank you so much for listening to us. And because of your participation and support, we have hit the partner program over on YouTube. So that's fun. We broadcast this live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. And if you're watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, you can comment and then I can display your comments and talk about you. Or I can just talk about your comment. Like Olivier, he's already chimed in. Giving Matt LaMarche a hard time because he was a little bit late. But Matt is here. Celebrating his love for real estate. So we usually have a rousing discussion around some of these real estate topics that we cover. If you're joining us on Clubhouse, you can actually raise your hand. The moderators will check to make sure that you have an actual profile. And if you do, they will add your voice to the conversation. So, oh wait, apparently I was kicked. Was I kicked out? Could y'all hear me on Clubhouse? Because I just came back to Clubhouse because my phone went to sleep. So hopefully you could hear all that. Anyway, if we are on Clubhouse without technical difficulties, you can actually add your voice to the show by raising your hand and giving us your thoughts about some of these things that we talk about. And the whole reason we have this show is so that you can have one place to get a succinct professional analysis of what is happening in real estate from those of us that are actually still in the business, still doing the work. So thank you everybody for joining. And we're going to dive right into it today because we've got some interesting news, I guess you could say. Just as an overview of what we're talking about, of course, we're going to dive into the economy, what's happening with mortgage rates, all that stuff. But we're going to also be talking about the portal wars between CoStar. I mean, I cannot say that today. Between CoStar and Zillow, as well as another lawsuit that popped up. So there's a lot to cover. But first, let's get to the Zillow quarterly report. So Zillow's revenue rises in Q4 as Barton touts Portal's household name. So Zillow touts being a household name, but to many agents, Zillow's a bad word. So how do they rationalize the increase? In total, the company earned $474 million in revenue between October and December of 2023. That's a 9% increase compared to 1 year earlier. The jump in revenue happened due to significant gains in Zillow's residential, rental, and mortgage business, and probably the shedding of the stuff that cost them a whole bunch of money, like the iBuyer program. Rentals saw the biggest year-over-year jump, with revenue from verticals rising 37%, followed by Zillow's mortgage business, which despite the slow market managed to grow 22%. And that is significant because if you remember, in that quarter was some of the highest interest rates that we've had historically. So for them to be able to actually increase 22%, that's significant. They're growing in a downtime. So the rise in revenue, notwithstanding those, Zillow lost money. How does that work? In total, the company suffered a net loss of $73 million, just a hair above the $72 million loss in the fourth quarter of 2022. So they increased revenues to record rates and lost the same amount of money. This is evidence of the progress we're making, Rich says, to transform the way people buy, sell, finance, and rent homes by continually adding more functionality, software, and services to Zillow's housing super app. Zillow reported earnings just days after CoStar announced it will spend a fortune in 2024, which we have on the next story. In keeping with Zillow's modus operandi, man, I've used that phrase a lot, but I haven't read it in an article a lot, and that almost threw me. The company did not explicitly mention CoStar or the broader conflict. However, Barton did notably defend his company's position atop the portal heap. He said, quote, "We have the leading real estate audience and brand that is a household name, and we have barely scratched the surface on real estate market with $2 trillion of total transaction value." $2 trillion is a lot. So we are pressing the accelerator on expansion in 2024. So where are they going to go? How are they going to expand? I guess they're going to expand their ancillary services, their verticals, because I don't think you could expand the name anymore. Zillow is everywhere, right? Well, they're not really big in New York. In Street Easy or something else over in New York. I don't know if we have any New Yorkers that are over in Clubhouse right now that could chime in, but so I guess there are some markets where they're not really that active in. I think Houston may be another one due to the it's not Haybar, Houston area brokers or something like that. They have their own MLS that a lot of the consumers use. So Zillow's not as prominent in that market. So I guess there are some markets where they could do a better job in, but I don't know how they can call that an expansion. They're gonna have to do some hard study to open up in those markets. Let's see if there's anything else. They were trading just under $54 a share. It was down for the day, but up compared to a year ago, where they were at $44 a share. Today they're at $53.88. Yeah. So is Zillow going to make it? Because hot on their heels, nipping on their heels is CoStar. And I think this is interesting. I had a conversation last year with the president of homes.com. Not Andy is in my name. It's not Andy. It's David Mealy. And it was because I wrote an article, if you guys remember, where homes.com, if you searched for a real estate agent and they were a YouTube creator and you searched on YouTube, the first result didn't return the YouTube creator's channel, but it returned a search result that if you clicked it, you would actually go to their homes.com profile. Now, that didn't cost the agent anything to get that advertising, quote unquote. And there was no way that homes.com was making money off them, supposedly, although we did question some tactics around remarketing to them and all that stuff. But it was kind of removing the audience from YouTube, which is what their creator wanted, and moving them to their own audience. Well, then I got a call from David, and he texted me and said, "Hey, we're agent friendly. This is not our intent." And apparently, the way it broke down was they had something that was crawling the website and was also crawling the agent profile information and creating these ads automatically using the AI stuff. And so they stopped that practice. And in going through all that, one of his big things that he kept saying was, we are the agent friendly solution. We want to be buddy with and partner with the agents. And they have been testing a way for agents to promote themselves on homes.com. But the basics are my listing, my lead. So if you have a listing and it goes to homes.com, if anyone inquires on that listing that's not currently working with or attached to another homes.com agent, then you will get that inquiry. If they are already working with or attached to an agent and they inquire about the property, it'll go to that agent. And that's pretty legit. I don't have any problem with that. I think that's maybe how most of the portals should work. But it doesn't allow an agent to be one of 3 agents that a lead goes to and they buy a zip code. It doesn't work that way. If you want to be promoted, you actually have to have a transaction. You have to have a sale in the area that you want to be promoted in. And it's not area specific. You just pay for a membership, and wherever you sell, that is where you get promoted with that membership. So it's interesting. So all that being said, and the way I learned that, by the way, was with a call from homes.com yesterday. So if you watch the Super Bowl, they ran a bunch of ads, and I've got mixed reviews from the ads. Let's see so I told Anthony to come chime in the comments because he wasn't able to watch live today. Okay, here it is. He texted it to me. So Anthony Mosley said, OMG, the homes.com commercials during the Super Bowl, huge turnoff, creepy, sleepy, in my opinion. So I want to hear your thoughts. What did you think about the homes.com commercials? And if you don't know about these commercials, I'm going to play a couple of them for you. Hopefully homes.com is friendly to us. And because we're doing journalistic activities, they won't try to take down our channel because these are on YouTube. So we might get we'll see. Hopefully we won't get the copyright strike. But you can go to if it does get muted or something like that, and you're curious later, you could go to the homes.com website, and they have view our Super Bowl ads pretty predominantly on there. All right, let me add this and add myself. Okay, so here's the first ad that kind of sets up the rest of the storytelling. And I'm going to talk over some of this just to maybe avoid a copyright strike. But here's the ad.
It's time to get excited.
Oh, wait, this is not the ad. Hang on. This is the ad for the marketing campaign. Here is the actual ad that ran during, I think this one ran during the Super Bowl.
So, I hear some of you are concerned about the fact that I'm taking over the company from my great uncle.
So this is, he's going into a boardroom for the audio listeners and talking to a board of, stuffy white guys, basically what it is.
Well, rest assured, company's in great hands. Hit the vid, Marcy.
Now?
Yeah, now. We're bringing together the nation's agents in a super comprehensive agent directory.
You know he bought a helicopter.
Gathering up close, detailed info on neighborhoods.
So they have a helicopter with the Homes.com logo that is getting real low while he's talking about this, trying to gather quote unquote detailed information about the neighborhoods. And so you see the helicopter swooping into like one of those honey harvest festivals, and like honey and stuff is just being sprayed everywhere because of the helicopter.
And hiring top experts to get you insider info on local schools.
What y'all think? Smash or not?
Nah.
You got Wheezy for this?
So that was Wheezy in front of a school, and it said Meatloaf Mondays, and he said smash or nah, and the class was like, nah.
Exciting, right?
Now, who want to see what 100 G's look like?
Homes.com. We've done your homework. Now that is worth celebrating.
So now there's a big wine bottle outside of the executive. And the cork just smashed through the window.
I love it.
Thank you.
Jeff Goldblum.
Homework. Very clever. Very
Drink
clever.
up, everybody.
Ding dong.
So apartments.com is one of the number one spots for people to go search for apartments. And Jeff Goldblum has been doing the apartments.com ads for a while. And so he was there at that. Apartments.com is a sister company of homes.com, also owned by CoStar. And apartments.com became the number one place for people to search in very short order with similar type ads. And I can remember the apartments.com ads with Jeff in them. So that was the first one. So they're setting up this story. And the premise is we are going to do your homework. So if you're a consumer and you're looking for a property and you want to know about school systems and you want to know about, local festivals and you want to know what's happening in the neighborhood, we're going to do that work for you. And I witnessed this personally. I got a call from someone last year from homes.com that was researching an area that I sell a lot in. And they said, hey, we're researching this area. We know you sell in this area. What can you tell us about this? What can you tell us about this? And I said, well, not to be rude, but what's in it for me for answering these questions? They're like, oh, you'll be one of the featured agents. I'm like, okay. So I told them information. But I thought it was interesting that they're actually doing a strategy that we talk a lot about in real estate, which is setting up community pages. They are partnering with niches. .com. The riches are in the niches. So they're partnering with niches.com to get area information, school information, and that's going to be integrated and is already integrated into their website and area information. But they're trying to be as local as possible from a national portal standpoint. And they're putting as much local information as possible. And the premise is, we're going to be researching all this for you, Mr. Buyer, so that whenever you go to the website, we have all this for you in one place. You don't have to go anywhere else, and you can search for a property. So I didn't mind that. I thought that ad was good. It was interesting. There was probably things that I would have done differently, but the idea that a guy is taking over his dad's company and is there to make it bigger and brighter, and he's got good ideas, but poor execution, and the execution is a little off or a little funny, I think that's okay. I don't see a problem with this ad like I did with some of the early NAR ads that were making fun of buyers. I think that's a worse mistake. So here's a couple more just fast spots that I'll share with you guys as well. I really hope we don't get taken down.
This is it.
This one's a quick
One
spot.
play. This is when we find
Hey, quick question. Student body math proficiency. What do we say it's
He's
good,
got a mascot
fair,
on.
satisfactory? Like a percentage, if you had to guess.
Get out of here, man.
Understood.
Hey, grab it.
Great student-teacher ratio.
She's in the stands. He's running on the field, and the Homes.com helicopter lands on the field to pick him up.
We bring you the real in-depth school info.
What were you thinking?
I don't know.
Ding dong.
Homes.com.
See, it's not. I mean, it's not a bad commercial. I don't think it's clever. It gets the point across that they're going to try to get into the nitty gritty to find out the information. I guess I should mention this is Dan Levy and Heidi Gardner. I think Dan should have shaved for the role. By the way, I like his clean shaven look better. If I had to get real picky. All right, here's another one.
You lived here?
They're playing chess in the park.
And how are the restaurants around here? Are they good, bad, meh? What's the average household income?
Is there a mall?
I don't know, a hair salon? Where do you get your hair done?
You gonna move or what?
The guy's got a hat on, obviously kind of bald.
I'm sorry, it's a lovely neighborhood.
Marcy, we've got to go.
I'm coming.
Helicopter comes to pick Marcy up,
17,000 more parks to visit.
You want to give me a hand?
We bring you the best.
and they're flying away
neighborhood
with her
info.
still on the ladder.
Homes.com.
So I
how
thought that one was pretty good too. It gets the point across that they're basically doing the research for you, even though it's annoying some of the consumers. I think their best one, because we all know about barbershops, how you get the most information out of barbershops. So that was the premise of this next spot, which I thought was one of their better ones.
This will be a gold mine of local intel, just you wait.
So they're in a
tell us
barbershop
about
now,
this
and she's
corn
getting her hair
festival.
done.
Oh, you got your corn pudding, you got your corn chowder.
So is it safe
Now
around
she's
here?
getting her hair done
Sometimes.
again.
If a family of 8 were to need a cold plunge, where would they find it?
Oh, then they dip it in butter and bam, it goes right in.
Really cute vampire bar, like
The Reverend does like a blessing on the corn.
Donut shops. How far from here?
no eyebrows.
How light it'll feel in the summer. We gotta run. 11,000 more neighborhoods to go.
So I thought that's cute too, because they're playing on the fact that you get a lot of area information and neighborhood information from barbershops. So there's several others you guys can go and watch. The one with Yeezy, the longer version is there too. What he said. I didn't see this one. So they have Post-it notes all over a hotel room. I'm not sure what
What
this
about
was.
homes is where the homes are?
Where homes live?
Home sweet homes?
No.
Something phone homes.
Nope.
Website full of homes.
Home of the home.
We've got homes to write home about.
What's up, home?
We know where you live. We know where you will live.
Sounds like a threat.
Homes for sale website.
That's true.
Ding dong. It's Holmes.
Wow. You two have done your homework.
That was the janitor
Yeah, what he
going
said.
by the office.
What he said.
What he said, you two have done your homework. So that was the preview of the what the ads would be about. So I don't know, I thought it was pretty good. I think the NER marketing group that we paid $50 million to could take some notes from it. Olivier said, I thought it was pretty funny. I think he gets the points across. He said, I'm laughing alone in my office. So I thought they were pretty good. I don't have any problems with them. I haven't seen one like as Anthony said that were kind of creepy because it's not making fun of a real estate agent and it's not making fun of the consumer. They're basically making fun of themselves and the research that they have to do to fill the website up with the information. And I think it'll put them on the map for sure. They already sent boxes of stuff. I don't know if you got a jersey. I need to go to the office to see if I got a jersey. But they sent boxes of information to real estate agents around the country. Chime in, drop in the comments if you got a jersey. They also sent 2 big marketing pieces that were really cool because you could like move this little piece of paper and it showed you on the charts their growth whenever they got to 100 million visitors. So they're really after it. If you are in the commercial space, then you're familiar with CoStar, and they kind of own the CoStar. As a matter of fact, most agents in our area do not put commercial properties on the local MLS. Instead, they list them on CoStar. So I think they have an opportunity to kind of be what we all want NAR, Realtor.com could have been. I think they have an opportunity to do it. And they say they're the most agent friendly. So we'll see what that looks like. I mean, how are they're going to have to secure their money somehow. They say that they don't want to sell back our leads to us. They say that they don't want to be a referral company. So we'll see what happens. So portal wars are heating up. There's something about those two words back to back that are exceedingly difficult for me. There's a little bit of change in the executives. So Anywhere Real Estate appointed a chief technology officer. His name is Rudy Wolfs, Wolfs. So he's the new chief tech officer. Incredibly experienced technology leader, brings innovation and entrepreneurship to his work, whether he's launching a new digital company or helping a large-scale organization drive digital transformation. That was from CEO President Ryan Schneider said in a prepared statement. He's a very successful track record of growing and attracting great technology talent, reimagining complex systems, and moving with speed to deliver strategic results. So he'll be helping them, especially all the franchises around the country. In Wolf's words, he said the Anywhere product and technology team has made great progress. Look forward to partnering with them in collaboration. McSherry was the former CTO. It says while Anywhere gained a new CTO, it lost the chief operating officer, McSherry. So she was COO. Who is the new COO? I guess they haven't announced that person yet. She's agreed to serve as strategic advisor until April 1st. So they're still on the hunt for a new COO. A new CTO has been named and is in place. Two more pieces of industry info. There's been a lawsuit for a prominent New York City real estate developer and top executives who engaged in a fraud scheme and now have to pay $86 million. Nirmir, 49, who is a managing principal at the now shuttered real estate investment company HFZ Capital Group, autoplay ad. The executives have been charged with varying counts of larceny, conspiracy, falsifying business records, tax fraud, and money laundering. So one of the things they were doing is falsifying reports of how far they were on the progress of new construction, thereby getting additional money from lenders. That was a big part of the scheme. And then basically robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's what they did. So they Mir stole $24 million in funds from an office tower project, instructed an accountant to inflate statements of an account to report that it contained more than $24.6 million when in fact it contained $814. Also instructed his accountants to stop HFZ from paying property taxes in 18, 19, and 2020, defrauding the city of more than $15.6 million. Man, in total, we allege the defendants' conspiracies netted them a total of $86 million stolen from investors, contractors in the city of New York. So that went through. Big news for some of you guys up in that part of the country. And there is a new lawsuit. This one in Utah. Another home seller sues NAR brokerages. New Utah copycat lawsuit. Dalton Jensen filed a complaint February 9th, 2024, against the National Association of Realtors, several other real estate brokers. They sold a home in October. He paid 6% commission, was split between his listing agent and the buyer agent. Like other seller plaintiffs and 17 other major copycat lawsuits, Jensen is alleging unlawful conduct, conspiracy to set the commission rate. The defendants are National Association of Realtors, Anywhere, Home Services of America, Remax, Keller Williams of Salt Lake, KW St. George, KW Westfield, Equity Real Estate, Century 21, Everest, Realty Path, and Windermere. Jensen versus NAR. I guess this will probably be called the Jensen lawsuit. And again, you can find that information on Broke Agent Media. They also have this website that I'll share again that shows you where all the lawsuits are. It's real interesting. Yesterday, we had a client that was like, hey, I don't want to sign any of these representation documents. And we're like, I'm sorry, we can't work with you. And they're like, are you sure? Because this seems like a lot to go through just to have somebody, Jensen lawsuit is what it's called. He said, this seemed like a lot of paperwork to go through just to get somebody to research homes and write contracts for me. Like, well, and our response was, there's over 19 lawsuits around the country from real estate agents that were not professional enough to get paperwork, and we refuse to be those. So no, you may not be right for us. That's the way the cookie crumbles. All right. Let's see. That's all the industry info that I have for you guys today. If y'all know of anything else going on in the industry that you want me to talk about, or something that is happening that you're like, he's never said anything about this, send me a message. You can send me a message a couple of different ways, but probably Instagram is the best. It's Razorback, RAYZORBACK. You could send hot tips there, or we actually have a podcast Instagram handle. So it's TWirePod, TWIREPOD. So you can follow that and also send it a tip or a message. If somebody just sends me an article to look at, I usually don't shout you out unless you tell me that's okay. Because sometimes you may work at the company that this article came out about. Some of the harassment issues and things like that we've talked about in the past, I would actually get tips from people in the company. And they were like, don't say anything, but hey, this is what's happening. Here's what's going on. And I will keep you anonymous for all that kind of stuff. But if you want, and you just have a good article that you think we should cover, shoot it to me. We'll cover it, and I can give you a shout out if you want. All right. So let's talk about the economy. The pending home sales numbers came out last week, and this report by Redfin is interesting. We actually had the biggest decline in 4 months. And I think we may have covered part of this. Let me share this tab again. Sorry, I got to look around on my stuff. All right. So the housing market update, pending home sales has biggest decline in 4 months, dampened by the rising mortgage rates. So the bumpy start to 2024 housing market continues, with the daily average mortgage rates posting their biggest one-day increase, which we'll talk about in a second. Rising home prices are exasperating rising rates, with a typical mortgage payment just about $100 shy of October's all-time high. Quote from Chin Zhao, Redfin's economic research lead: we're seeing a bit of recovery with house hunters touring homes, but even demand at the earliest stages isn't up as much as we would expect this time of year. So it seemed like last week they were saying that demand was coming up, but this report that came out at the beginning of, what was this report? February 8th. So I guess the end of last week. They're kind of changing their tune. They're saying it's because mortgage rates are climbing high and winter weather has been harsher than usual in that part of the country, keeping some house hunters at home. There's an agent named Luis Rojas. He said that the high mortgage rates brought the local market to a near standstill from August through November. Activity picked up when rates dropped a bit in December, and now is slowing again as rates rise. He said, I'm advising buyers, especially first-time buyers, that mortgage rates they see in the news aren't the be-all, end-all. Some local lenders are willing to give rates in the 5% range for new construction projects because any business is better than no business. So basically saying shop your lender. We're seeing an uptick overall here locally. I think some of you chimed in last week. They were saying it felt like it was there was a big uptick. Olivier said, I forgot the copycat lawsuit in Canada. There has been progress on that. I want to get you to talk about that more, Olivier. I think I mentioned it last week, but I want to get you to chime in on what that looks like for Canada as soon as you can. Maybe you could come to the listener show at the end of the month and give us your 2 cents on it. All right, so pending home sales are down. There may be a little reprieve for people with high student loans. So there's a new student loan repayment plan, and they're thinking that could make it easier for borrowers to become homeowners. So instead of paying 10% of your discretionary income a month towards your undergraduate student debt under the previous revised pay as you earn repayment plan, which is called Clever Repay, REPAYE, Borrowers will be required to pay just 5% of their discretionary income. So switching to a repayment plan that will lower the monthly payment can help a borrower qualify for a mortgage. So basically they have more money to put, so their debt to income ratio, they have more money to put monthly towards their loan. And also it'll help them save up. Borrowers making repayments on their student loan debt who enroll in the SAVE, S-A-V-E, which is, what's it stand for? Hang on. Where is it? The SAVE plan. Saving on a variable education. Saving on a valuable education. S-A-V-E. It's kind of a stretch, but it's called the SAVE plan. So people who enroll in the SAVE plan could see the ratio fall somewhere between 1.5% to 3.6%, according to the new report from the Center of Responsible Lending. So the SAVE plan increases the income exempted from your payment calculation of 225% of the poverty line from 150%. As a result, the first roughly $33,000 of your income won't be factored into your monthly obligation. That's up from about $23,000. On the other income-driven payment plans, these numbers represent single individuals. More incomes protected as family size increases. They have a chart there on the CNBC website if you want more information on it. Starting in July, an even bigger perk of the plan will be available. Instead of paying 10% of your discretionary earning, you can pay 5% of your discretionary income towards your student loan repayment. What's up, Scat? Good to see you, man. So yeah, that's good news. I think that's if I was a real estate agent, I am a real estate agent. But if you wanted to put out some good content today, I think that's great content. Letting people know that in July, they can start saving more of their money and putting less towards their student loan as a requirement. And also the new SAVE program, that they could cut borrowers' monthly payments in half. That's a good thing to talk about. But still, we're seeing that mortgage rates are still surging higher, unfortunately. So we know that the Fed didn't adjust the rates at all, but it looks like rates are moving up by themselves. After a brief reprieve in December and January, mortgage rates are moving higher again, and it's taking a toll on mortgage demand. Total mortgage application volume fell 2.3% last week compared with the previous week, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association seasonally adjusted index. The average contract interest rate for a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage with conforming loan balance, $766,550 or less, increased 6.87% last week from 6.8%. So rates are continuing to go up. Applications to refinance, which are the most sensitive, they fell 2% for the week, but were 12% higher than the same week a year ago. Applications for a mortgage to purchase a home dropped 3% for a week and were 12% lower than the same week a year ago. So Joel Kahn, he's a Mortgage Bankers Association economist. He said purchase applications remained subdued as elevated rates continued to aid affordability challenges, along with still low existing housing inventory. So Chin Zhao said we're seeing a bit of recovery from house hunters touring homes, but the demand isn't up much. So very rate sensitive now. And we saw that where as soon as we hit, you guys are chiming in, Con, on behalf of old Dano. Olivier said we're in for a bumpy ride in 2024. Yeah, it looked like it was kind of picking up towards the beginning of the year. There were a lot of people that were excited about it. And I, for one, thought that it looked like it would be, the end of 2023, that uptick that we had that kind of lasted, or the beginning of 2023 was an uptick that we had that only lasted about 6 months until the mid-year. And then it just really went downhill as far as activity went. But when rates were, down in the lower sixes, we were still seeing a lot of activity. Even now in the sixes, I think it's good. As soon as it has a 7 in that front number, it's going to take a while for people to get used to seeing a 7% interest rate. And it's going to take a while for people to get themselves into a position where they can easily afford that. So I don't think, if rates stay higher for longer, I don't think we're going to see a lot of home sales. I think it's going to be like the end of 2023, unfortunately. January CPI report is the nail in the coffin for the March interest rate cut. So when the Fed did not cut rates or move rates last 2 weeks ago, there were a lot of people saying, oh, okay, that means in March. In March, he's probably going to lower rates. Well, the CPI report came back and inflation came in higher than expected, which means that the Fed will likely keep rates higher for longer. May not increase rates, but he's not going to lower them anytime soon. They continue to expect that CPI shelter will come in down, even though it's taking longer than expected because market rents have long been flat. Today's owner's equivalent rent number looks suspiciously high, given that the rent of primary residences came down 0.4% month over month. Since this is a measure of is imputed by the BLS based on the rental properties deemed equivalent to owner-occupied homes, it could have fallen victim to statistical noise. So basically just a change in statistics is keeping that number artificially high. The Fed had already largely taken the March rate hike off the table. After this data, markets are now forecasting a less than 5% chance of a rate cut in March. And some say that he's not going to cut at all in the spring season. And if he cuts, it will be in the fall and it will be a larger cut. The larger cut part of that may be wishful thinking. If inflation keeps up, he can't do it. He can't cut. I just don't see that happening. So the overall inflation came in 0.3% month over month versus 0.2% expected, and a 3.1% year over year versus a 2.9% expected. Core CPI was in at 0.4% versus 0.3%, and then 3.9% year over year versus 3.7%. So yeah, inflation is still going up, despite the current administration's chagrin. All right, so one of the reasons why we have less inventory is the higher rates are turning some people off from selling their home that they're sitting in a 2%, 3% interest rate, and they want to sit there. Another reason is because the moving habits of people have changed. And I was shocked to see that the average stay in a home had gone up so much, where I remember 2005, 6, 7, it felt like people were selling their house every 3 years, every 2 years. I mean, 3 years was a long time to stay in a home, and people were upgrading every 2 to 3 years and selling their house. And that went bye-bye when the crash happened in 2008 and 9. And you started to see people stay in their home a little bit longer. But as it started to recover, especially during the pandy, people seemed to be selling through that pretty well. But when you look at the overall numbers, the tenure in 2023 is defined as the number of years between the most recent sale date and let's see, it is up to 11.9 years. 11.9 years. So through the pandy, actually, that number has fallen. So when people are basically seeing when people are seeing appreciation that just continues to grow and give them the equity, then they're far more willing to turn around and sell that home, especially if rates are favorable. So we saw that, and basically in 2006, 7, and 8, the average was 6.5. Looks like around 7. I don't think it got up to 8 years, but that was the average, and that slowly increased since then. But so people were selling really fast, and there were some that were staying there long term. But that rate has slowly increased over the years to its peak in 2021 of 13.4 years. And now that's down in 2024 to 11.9. And I think that was due to people selling during the pandy, realizing they could buy in, March of 2020 and then sell a year and a half, 2 years later and make $100K. Baby boomers are aging in place. They're also a lot healthier, so they're not moving out. There's no silver wave. Everybody's been talking about for years. It's not happening. 2 in 5 baby boomers have lived in their home 20 plus years. Wow. Baby boomers and Gen Xers have outsized impact on the overall housing market as it trends for a few reasons. One is the American population. Roughly 70% of the U.S. were 65 and older. And then nearly 80% of baby boomers and 72% of Gen Xers own their home, compared to 55% of millennials and 26% of Gen Z. Let's see. I'm trying to find any other reasons. It was cheap and easy to move in 2020, obviously. Yeah, it's pretty much what we've already covered there. So the full report is on Redfin. Very interesting. I should ask on my Instagram stories, what do you think the current time is? You could put that 13.4 years because that's what it was in 2020. 11.9 is what it's at now. And then have like every 8 years, every 6 years. 6.5 years is what it was in 2025. Wow. Okay, and then last article for the day, investor purchases. So we saw locally a pullback of investors. I don't know if you saw this last year. Was it 2023 or was that 2022? It's hard for me to remember. I want to say it was actually at the end of 2022. We had a huge influx of investors that we worked a lot with all the way through 2023. That's what it was. And those investors seem to pull back in some of our markets here recently. But real estate investors bought 26.1% of low-priced U.S. homes sold in the fourth quarter. That's the highest share on record and is up from 24% a year earlier. By comparison, investors purchased 13.6% of mid-priced homes, and then compared to 14.3% a year earlier, and 15.9% of high-priced homes, compared to 15.4% a year earlier. So they were buying a few less in the mid-range. They're buying way more in the bottom range and a few less in the luxury market. And that makes sense. I think one of the reasons this is happening because buyers are extremely price sensitive and they're also condition sensitive right now. There's 4 reasons a home sells: price, condition, location, and then the professional presentation of that property to the marketplace. You can't sell a secret. If that's been taken care of and an agent can prove it and say, well, here's how many thousands of people that saw your home, here's what we're doing to market your property, then there's really only 3 other reasons a home could sell. Location, you're not going to move the home in most cases. So location, you can't really do anything about it except market enhance. So there's only 2 other solutions: price and condition. And if it's not the right condition, you can lower the price or you can adjust the condition. If it is in good condition, then it's likely a pricing issue. Well, a lot of buyers that are entering into the marketplace right now are seeing these things and saying, well, I can afford that home, but not in its condition. I can pay what I need to pay with the higher interest rates for that home, but I will also have to fix this thing. I'll have to fix this thing. I'll have to fix this thing. And I can't do that. So the home lingers and sits on the market, and investors are willing to buy the home in poorer condition and they can close on it. And it doesn't have to have flooring. It doesn't have to have, I was visiting with a family the other day that was going through probate, and the person had taken the floors out and there was stuff that was wrong with it. There were basically most mortgages it would not qualify for. So if it doesn't qualify for most mortgages, there's only a few mortgages it does qualify for. One of them is going to be a higher down payment mortgage. And in that scenario, it's going to be more difficult to find a buyer that has the money that's willing to pay a market value and also do all the repairs. So it's going to sell below market value. And so the bottom portion of the market, the bottom 1/3 of the market, is full of sellers that don't have the money to fix it and buyers that have the money to purchase it, but don't have the cash they need to repair it after. Or they can only get the money to purchase it if the property is in condition that the loan would approve. And thus, the bottom 1/3 of the market is now investor friendly because you have a lot of options that aren't working for the current buyers. So where you do have inventory, especially lingering homes on the market, you have condition issues, and that's great for an investor. The article, well, that's not really a great chart. Here's one that shows national investor purchases. This is interesting. Investor home purchases dropped 11% in the fourth quarter. Investor purchases of U.S. homes fell to 10.5% year over year in the fourth quarter to 46,419. That's the lowest fourth quarter level since 2026. Overall, U.S. home purchases posted a slightly larger decline, falling 12.2% to 251,462. It's the lowest fourth quarter level since 2012. All right, here's that chart. So you can see the huge increase that it had in 2022, which lines up exactly with the story I just told you guys, actually. We had a huge increase of investor purchases, especially here locally, and then boom, it's just like they pulled back so fast to where now they're matching 2017 numbers? Or somewhere in the 2017 number range. So, all right, anything to add about any of those articles? I know I've been yapping a lot here. Olivier said, I'm amending my prediction. No rate cut until the end of summer. Nice of you to amend it now that you know the news. He said people are scared to pull the trigger because of inflation in the economy. Yeah, anytime there's unrest, people are less likely to make a move. And we also see that during an election year. It especially slows down August, September, October of an election year as people are waiting to see, well, who's going to be elected? What does that mean for me? Anyone that is a small business owner is very cognizant of what those decisions may mean for them, the taxes they have to pay, money that comes out of their pocket, that type of thing. So I can definitely see some people taking a step back and wanting to wait a bit before making a purchase. Matt, what's up, man?
Hey, yeah, I'm just curious because I'm kind of doing some data analysis at this point, at least here in Atlanta. But for everyone in Clubhouse or watching YouTube, whatever, first of all, like and subscribe. Secondly, what does your market look like? Because the challenge we have at the moment is I got a ton of people that would love to sell, and they know that they can still get, if priced correctly, based on the condition and everything you just talked about. They know they can get what they want to get out of their house, but they still don't have anything to go look at in the areas that they want to look at. And I'm not just talking about like from one area of Atlanta to another. I'm talking like all over. Like the number of people that would buy something tomorrow if they know they would sell tomorrow if they knew they could buy something. Like, am I alone in this? Is this happening in other parts of the country? Because I feel alone at the moment, and I need some reprieve. Hopefully, I'm not the only one experiencing this. But I've got a ton of people that would move tomorrow if they could go find something. So I feel like there's still a lot of pent up demand because there's no inventory. But please tell me I'm not alone in this.
Yeah, cue up the Michael Jackson because you are not alone.
Thriller? Oh, got it. Right. Yeah, I got
you
it.
Not alone. Yeah, that one. Okay.
That was really good for like improving that. Yeah, that was really nice. It's obvious why you're one of the best podcasts.
Yeah, who gets the variety of the show? That's what we should be called, a variety show instead of just a podcast now. But no, Olivier said no singing. All right, fine. He's probably in his office and he says he's alone, but I bet there's other people that are hearing this like Michael Jackson now coming over his computer and he's kind of embarrassed. It's fine.
Yeah. Olivia, what are you up to over there?
What's going on in Canada? By the way, Michael Jackson, as far as compared to Usher's halftime, Michael Jackson was way better. Some people were asking what was the best ever. Michael was clearly the best ever, but no, I don't think you're alone in that. I mean, we've had a couple of instances where our clients have sold and we've encouraged them. Basically, we've said, all right, worst case scenario, you sell, you get a pretty good price for your home and you have to rent something for a little while until something that you really love comes available. But for them to buy something they really love right now is a bigger challenge if they still own their home, because the likelihood of people accepting a contingent offer with so many other buyers in the market willing to pay is still super low. So we had a situation just recently where a buyer, kind of picky, was really nervous about listing his home, going under contract. And so we got some favorable terms as far as the delayed occupancy, pushing closing out a little bit, that kind of thing. And we had to really hunt. There was a good 2-3 week period where we were hard on the hunt for this guy. and wound up finding something for him a little bit off market. But I think that's going to be what separates agents in this market, is the ability to find those properties that are less known. Using agent to agent connections, calling whoever you can, like, hey, here's what my client's looking for. Do you have a friend, a cousin, a relative that has that wants to sell? Searching expired properties. One of my favorite things to do is to put in their criteria to the MLS and then switch over the status that I'm searching from active to expired and withdrawn, and then seeing what was there. And the fast way, I mean, you could go then prospect the expired and go through all that rigmarole, or you could just call the agent that had it and say, hey, can you call that seller? I've got a buyer who needs a house. It matches. We're not going to pay that price you have listed, but if you can still get your person interested and get both of us paid, let's go. And agents love that. That does great work for the community because they're like, yes, I've been wanting to sell that house. And it's a really fast solution for you to help a buyer find something when there's nothing on the market. But we're searching for ways to get off-market properties for the clients. You are not alone in that issue. And it's going to remain an issue until inventory at least doubles or triples what we are currently at.
Yeah. That was my concern, right? Because like comparing to a year ago, where at least here in Atlanta, we had like a month and a half, I think it got up to, and then it came down again to a month, or like less than a month. And I was like, oh, we're getting there. Like it felt like it was moving in the right direction. And now we've got 3 months, but I'm gonna be honest, it does not feel that way at all. Like this stuff, I used to say a third. A third of it would fly off the shelves, just like everything, move in ready, ready to go. The second third was you're way out of touch with the market and values at the moment, and you should come down $100,000. And then the final third was you are not just aspirational, but you're aspirational for that condition, that location, that fill in the blank. And so now it feels like it's more of a 50-50 split, more 50% ready to go, move in ready, 35 offers, blah, blah, blah. And then the other half is still aspirational, or if they've got the right price on it, the condition is just not even remotely close. So anyway, I know Scap wanted to say something, and I'm sure he just is trying to get a hand on one of these Masters tickets I've got over here. But sorry, Scap, they're already spoken for. Now, if you're willing to perform and do something, then we'll figure it out.
Matt, by the way, thank you so much for inviting me to the Masters. I will be there, bro. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I look forward to it. What's up, Scap?
Wow. You know what, Matt? You know what? Just, you're cut out. You're done. You're cut out. I am no longer going to even recognize you for the rest of my entire life. Goodbye. You're done.
He's going to
acknowledge me, Scap.
Scap's going to have to excuse himself for any appraisals that LaMarche orders, or it's not going to come back for you, bro.
$50 for this $1 million house?
I am hoping and praying I get an appraisal now to do for one of Matt's. Just I hope and pray, because it's going to be the biggest debacle ever now.
That's phenomenal. No, I think the analysis you had, Matt, of that third to third to third and the increasing to a month and a half and feeling like you finally have inventory. I wonder how the math is done for these inventory numbers, and if you're seeing absorption rates. So if the absorption rate has declined over time because the number of properties available is also going down, then whenever you calculate the months of inventory, it's based on sales that are the maximum number of sales because that's all the inventory that there was. So then when you say, well, we have a month and a half of inventory, okay, well, based on what rate of buyer absorption? Is it based on the rate of buyer absorption for the last 6 months? Because if so, the buyer absorption rate looks smaller because they're getting all of the inventory possible, but that is a lower number of sales. So if you compare,
and that's why we're starting with that part.
Yes. So if you go back and look at, when Atlanta had the highest number of transactions and what the absorption rate was at that time, and then did the math based on the number of homes selling that month versus what is currently available, I think you would see probably, less than a month, even when they're reporting a month and a half. Does that make sense? Basically, you can't.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I'm thinking it's a bit of a statistical
You're
anomaly saying inventory is increasing. It's not increasing because you're saying that based on historic numbers of buyers taking everything they could, but that number is lower because there wasn't much for them to choose from.
No, that's exactly right. And where in listing presentations, I used to just talk about the comps and the market and buyer, sentiments and the number of showings I'm seeing on other listings for other buyers and so on and so forth. Because I am like a 50-50 agent. I do work listings as well as buyers. So, and I think that's a really important thing to tell your people, no matter who, right? Like your buyers should know that you work with other buyers and sellers. So you're in the head of sellers and you are a listing agent that is constantly in touch with sellers and what's important to them so that you're a better buyer's agent and vice versa. But no, you're exactly right. And it's one of the things that we started adding in this year for my listing presentations was the absorption. We talked about it a little bit in the past, but now I feel like it's so much more important because the inventory is still low, but people are still hearing it's a great time to sell. And it's like, well, yes, but in this area, the absorption is significantly lower than like across the river on the other side of town. Like that's a real important point here. So no, I think that's really smart. And inventory could double tomorrow. It doesn't matter if the absorption rate in your area is still really really high or really really low. That means different things for you. So yeah, that's really really important.
Yeah, I agree. Where'd Skep go? I thought he wanted to add something else, but maybe not.
Dude is so mad. I can tell. I've seen Skep many a time. So
that's so perfect.
He's going to be really, really been out of shape. But
I'm glad you.
I can't blame him. Yeah, sorry, Mr. Seller. I know this $1 million home came back at $50, but that particular appraiser is not real keen on me. So
let me tell you
my apologies.
Let me tell you a story about Scat. That's too funny.
But unfortunately, only golfers or people that live in Georgia would actually understand how important. They'd be like, "All right, well, we get it. We know why."
Are they as elusive as Augusta tickets? Because I know those are like once in a lifetime.
Yeah, I was going to put this on my story later because so for those of you that don't know, the Masters is a professional golf tournament that takes place in Augusta, Georgia, in the first week of April, and so you can apply to get tickets through the lottery when you turn 18. And I have been doing so since I was 18. I'm now 41, and this is the first time that I've gotten them.
Wow.
Obviously, yeah. And so Monday, Tuesday are practice rounds. Wednesday is like the par 3 tournament, and then the tournament starts Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you get eliminated after Friday if you aren't, high enough or whatever. And you don't make any money if you aren't in that final cut. But yeah, it's like I forget the odds. I remember reading about it one time. And honestly, when I got the email, because they send it to you like a month after the 2023 Masters.
Do you think it was fake?
I remember showing my wife the email, and I'm like, "Is this a scam?" So I called Augusta National. I was like, "Hey, I got an email that says I got tickets. Is this true or not?" And they pulled it up, and they're like, perfect. "No, yeah, you can go in and buy them." I was like, "This is amazing."
I got this email about tickets, and it's from a Nigerian prince. Is this real? No.
He says he represents Mark Scott.
That's right. Yeah. I get the tickets. Well, that's exciting, man. That'll be fun to see. You got to create a bunch of content, of course.
Well, that's the other thing. During the tournament, there's no phones, there's no cameras.
Oh, yeah.
But during Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you can take a camera in. So I have to go old school with it. But super excited. Once in a lifetime opportunity for me, and taking my brother and my dad and my father-in-law. So it'll be good fun.
That's cool. Well, that's all the big news I have for us this week. Go take a look at those homes.com commercials and drop in the comments what you guys think. Matt, what did you think of those commercials? Were you here when we were going through those?
Yeah. So, I think it was interesting because I've tried to just kind of sit back and listen to what agents are saying about it, because I don't know how much the consumer knows or doesn't know about Zillow. I mean, obviously they know what it is, but how it's working for or against agents, or for or against the industry
Yeah.
is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't think, our clients care. I think they go on there and they search. And when you put in an address because you passed an open house sign or a for sale by owner or for sale by Matt LaMarche in Atlanta, Georgia, and you pull up an address and the first 2 or 3 results that come up are Zillow, Homes.com, Realtor, Redfin, whatever. I don't think they know or care, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
But I have heard a lot of influential people, let's say, in real estate say, that Homes.com is going to be more agent friendly.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. I haven't seen all of their proposals and what they're doing and the way that they're doing it to see how they're different than any other platform for the agent, at least. So I don't know. I thought the commercials were actually really good, but I love Schitt's Creek, so it's super easy to play to that for me, at least.
Yeah.
With what's his face. So
yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
The didn't NAR do something with the guy from, he's the realtor. He plays a realtor on the sitcom. Oh shoot.
Phil Dunphy. Yeah. Phil Dunphy on
didn't they do
Family.
something with him? I think that was smarter than what they've done recently, but
yeah, I agree.
I liked it. Jenny Lee, she's in the comments. What's up, Jenny? She said, I'm on the Panhandle and we have lots of folks who downsize if there was anything to downsize to. She said, we have downsizing over 700s and they're sitting in a property with no payment. Yeah. It's hard for them to say, well, I'm going to downsize and I'm going to downsize into a monthly payment. That doesn't make sense, especially towards that part of your life. Olivier said, we have rising inventory here, but only some products move, but those that move really move. Okay. So the ones with the cute factor is what I call it, Olivier. Maybe it's different for you, but the ones that photo incredibly well, look super cute, perfectly staged. Those are the ones that tend to do the best for me in our market. And he said, we saw sales up 10 to 15% year over year, but listings up 20% year over year. Huh. Interesting. And he also said, thanks for the tickets, Matt.
I knew I was going to make more enemies than friends with this whole thing. But Jill and Sue Sloan on Clubhouse, thank you. I'm glad I'm not alone and that you guys are also experiencing the same thing in your areas.
Oh yeah. I see you guys in the comments. I really appreciate you doing that. I can't really follow the comments over on Clubhouse very easily because it's another tab that I have to open that takes me away from the Clubhouse chat. So I can't, or the Clubhouse actual room. But next time, hop over to, while you're listening on Clubhouse, a lot of people do this. They will start the show in YouTube, press pause, listen to it on Clubhouse. And when they want to make a comment, they just tab over to YouTube and make the comment. So that's, if you want me to read your comments on air, that's the best way to get it. So sorry, I missed you guys over there. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us this week. That's all I've got. You can find me at Razorback. That's RAYZORBACK. Let me know how you like the show, if you like the show, because we are, always look to make changes and all that kind of stuff based on our surveys. And if you have any hot tips, feel free to send it to me. If I'm not covering something you want me to cover, I'm happy to cover that too. And if you want tickets, you need to reach out to Matt LaMarche. That's MATT.LaMarche, LAMARSH over on Instagram. Be sure to hit him up and let him know what you'd offer. But thanks everybody for joining us. Do all the subscribey things, hit the bell so that you can be alerted when we go live. And I'll see you guys next week.